Ancient stone platforms around the world mirror the cosmos with impossible precision. By the end of this journey, you will understand a lost science that connected humanity directly to the stars. How did cultures separated by oceans and millennia all build structures that track the sun and moon with such accuracy? And what urgent knowledge did they encode in stone for the future? What does this shared celestial language tell you about our deepest connection to the universe? That first spark of celestial curiosity must have been a profound moment in human history. One person, looking up from a world of immediate survival, notices a star that returns to the same position after a full cycle of seasons. Another observes the moon swelling and shrinking in a perfect, predictable rhythm. This was the dawn of a new kind of thinking, a shift from simply living under the sky to actively learning its language. This is the heart of archaeoastronomy, a field that bridges two seemingly distant worlds, the digging of archaeology and the calculations of astronomy, to listen to what the stones are trying to tell us about the stars. For a long time, the common narrative placed ancient peoples firmly on the ground, concerned only with hunting, gathering, and basic survival. But researchers like Dr. Anthony Aveni helped illuminate a different truth. These stone platforms and circles were not just backdrops for rituals. They were the hard drives of their day, sophisticated instruments encoded with astronomical data. A single standing stone, when viewed from a specific platform, might frame the rising sun only on the day of the summer solstice. A window in a temple wall could allow a beam of light to strike a carved spiral at the precise moment of the equinox. These are not random occurrences. They are the result of meticulous, generations-long observation. By carefully mapping these alignments, we can reverse engineer ancient calendars. We discover how a culture divided its year, when it planted crops, when it held its most sacred ceremonies, all dictated by the silent clockwork of the cosmos. This reveals a universal human drive, a shared need to find order in the heavens and reflect it here on Earth. So how is it that cultures who could never have met, separated by vast oceans and thousands of years, often built structures that track the same celestial events with the same startling precision? This compelling mystery draws us across the globe to our first site, a place where the stones speak a language of celestial mathematics. High in the thin air of the Peruvian Andes, the stone city of Machu Picchu holds a silent witness to celestial genius. The Intihuatana stone, its name meaning the hitching post of the sun, stands as a perfect example of this ancient science. This single, beautifully carved granite pillar rises from a platform that was itself sculpted directly from the mountain's bedrock. On the 2 days of the year when day and night are of equal length, the equinoxes, a remarkable event occurs. At the exact moment of solar noon, the pillar casts no shadow at all. It is a moment of perfect vertical light, a phenomenon that required immense observational skill and precise engineering to achieve. For the Inca, this was far more than a clever trick of the light. It was a critical tool for survival. By monitoring the shifting length and angle of the stone's shadow throughout the year, priests could accurately predict the changing seasons. This knowledge told them exactly when to plant and when to harvest, anchoring their entire agricultural cycle to the reliable movements of the sun. The stone was the heart of their calendar, a rock-solid clock synchronizing human activity with the cosmos. The entire structure was also central to their spiritual world, used in ceremonies to ensure the sun god Inti would continue his journey across the sky and return after the short days of winter. This was not simply a monument to observation. It was an active instrument for engaging with the forces of the universe. The Incas used unyielding stone to capture something as fleeting as a sunbeam at a specific moment, creating a permanent bond between earth and sky. This profound desire to mark the sun's journey appears in stone across the world. From the deserts of North America to the plains of Europe, other cultures developed their own sophisticated solar markers, each with a unique story to tell. Yet the sun was only one part of the celestial story being told in stone. While the Intihuatana stone captured perfect moments of sunlight on the wind-swept Salisbury Plain in England, the builders of Stonehenge were mastering a far more complex and subtle rhythm, the dance of the moon. Everyone knows of Stonehenge's connection to the summer solstice sunrise, but its relationship with the moon is arguably more profound. The great sarsen stones form a circle of towering trilithons, those iconic structures of two vertical stones capped by a horizontal lintel. These were not placed at random. Specific gaps between these massive arches frame the horizon, marking the extreme points where the moon rises and sets over a cycle that takes 18.6 years to complete. This is known as the major lunar standstill, a slow, graceful swing of the moon's path across the sky that ancient people observed and monumentalized with breathtaking accuracy. Imagine the light of a full moon, not just any moon, but one at the peak of its long cycle, pouring through one of these stone windows to strike a central altar or highlight a particular heel stone. This was not a yearly event, but one that required generations of patient observation to even recognize, let alone build for. Researchers like Clive Ruggles have mapped these alignments, revealing a monument that functions as a dual calendar, tracking both the reliable sun and the more complex moon. But how did they record this long cycle? The answer might lie in the Aubrey holes, a ring of 56 pits dug just inside the earthwork bank surrounding the stone circle. While their exact purpose is still debated, one compelling theory suggests they were used as a prehistoric computer for predicting lunar eclipses. By moving markers from hole to hole in a specific pattern, priests could have tracked the intricate Saros cycle, anticipating when the Earth's shadow would darken the moon. This transforms our image of Stonehenge from a simple temple into a sophisticated observatory, a machine built of earth and stone that could calculate celestial events with stunning precision. To achieve this without writing, without lenses, with only the naked eye and an unwavering dedication to the sky, speaks to a level of astronomical understanding we are only now fully appreciating. This mastery over stone itself, the ability to shape and place multi-ton rocks with such exactitude, points to a level of craftsmanship that seems to defy its own era. The sheer scale of this ambition is written in the stone itself, a testament to an engineering prowess that still defies easy explanation. How do you move a 20-ton block of sarsen stone across 20 miles of rolling English countryside, then lift it perfectly vertical and cap it with a multi-ton lintel, all without modern machinery? The answer lies in a symphony of coordinated human effort, a deep understanding of simple physics, and an unwavering determination to build for the ages. Quarrying was the first monumental task, achieved not with explosives but with fire and water. Workers would heat the stone surface with fire, then rapidly cool it with water, causing the rock to fracture along predictable lines. Then came the journey. We can envision teams of hundreds using log rollers and leather ropes, inching these colossal stones across the landscape, a process that could take an entire season for a single stone. To raise them, they dug massive pits, tilting the stones into place using a complex system of levers, ropes, and a frame lifts, likely packing the base with smaller stones and timber to nudge them into perfect position. The final touch, the lintels, required the construction of enormous earthen ramps. workers would have dragged the capstone up this temporary slope, painstakingly lowering it onto the waiting uprights. But the true genius is in the finishing. Look closely at the Stonehenge lintels, and you will find not just rough-hewn rock, but stones joined with mortise and tenon joints, wooden working techniques applied to granite. The surfaces were pecked and ground using hand-sized stones of even harder material like quartzite for weeks on end to create astonishingly level platforms and smooth, vertical faces. This was not merely for beauty. A perfectly level surface ensures that a shadow cast by a standing stone falls true, and a smooth, vertical face provides a clean, unambiguous edge for aligning with a star on the distant horizon. This incredible effort, this generational project, forces a profound question. What could possibly motivate a society to dedicate so much of its resources, its labor, and its collective life to such a task? The answer seems to lie in a powerful fusion of the practical and the profound, a drive that connected the very survival of the community to the silent, majestic order of the cosmos. Yet the desire to map the heavens was not confined to the great stone temples of Europe or the mountain cities of the Andes. Far to the south, in what is now the blistering expanse of the Egyptian Sahara, lies a site that radically rewrites the timeline of astronomical discovery. This is Nabta Playa, a stone circle and series of platforms that align with the stars, and it predates Stonehenge by over 1,000 years. Imagine not a settled kingdom, but a group of nomadic cattle herders 7,000 years ago. They did not build pyramids or palaces. Their legacy is a collection of stones carefully arranged on a dried lake bed. Among these, one of the most crucial alignments points to the heliacal rising of Sirius. This is the first moment each year when the star becomes visible just before dawn after a period of being hidden by the sun's light. For these people, watching the eastern horizon for that first glint of Sirius was a matter of life and death. Its appearance signaled the imminent arrival of the annual Nile flood hundreds of miles to the east, an event that would bring water and fertile silt, rejuvenating the land and ensuring their survival. They used unyielding desert stone to mark the arrival of a celestial messenger. The sophistication deepens with what researchers call the calendar circle. Here, a set of smaller stones was arranged in a pattern that accurately tracks the summer solstice sunrise. But perhaps most intriguing are the larger, carved stones that some researchers, like J. Malville, suggest may represent constellations. These were not just random markers, they were part of a symbolic map of the night sky, a permanent record of cosmic knowledge created by a people on the move. Nabta Playa was likely a ceremonial center, a place where the community gathered for rituals that intertwined astronomy, religion, and the practical needs of survival. Its very existence challenges a long-held assumption that complex astronomy could only emerge in settled, agricultural societies with permanent cities. Here was a culture of nomadic herders demonstrating a sophisticated, deliberate, and deeply meaningful understanding of the cosmos. They prove that the drive to connect with the universe is a fundamental human trait, not a privilege of civilization. This revelation raises a compelling question for which the stones themselves provide no direct answer. How did these early astronomers, without a system of writing, pass this precise knowledge down through the generations, ensuring that the meaning of each stone's placement was preserved for centuries? The answer must lie in the invisible architecture of human culture, in the power of oral tradition and symbolic art. These stories were more than just entertainment, they were the living textbooks of the ancient world. Around a communal fire, a storyteller's voice would give life to the constellations, transforming abstract points of light into a drama of gods and heroes. The Greek tale of the hunter Orion, eternally pursued across the sky by the scorpion that caused his passing, perfectly captures the celestial reality. As Scorpius rises in the east, Orion sets in the west, the two constellations forever locked in an annual dance of opposition. This was not a coincidence, it was a brilliant mnemonic device. By attaching a compelling narrative to the stars, complex astronomical relationships became unforgettable, passed down through generations with ease. Far across the world, the Maya developed an intricate mythology around the planet Venus. They saw it not as a single object, but as a god with multiple aspects, its morning and evening appearances signaling times for both conflict and the planting of crops. Their legends provided a narrative schedule, weaving the planet's predictable cycles directly into the fabric of warfare and agriculture. This mythological framework gave order to the universe, linking human affairs to the cosmos in a deeply meaningful way. The stones and the stories were two parts of a single system, the physical platform and the oral instruction manual. This integration of myth and monument reaches one of its most sophisticated expressions at a place where architecture itself seems to become a constellation. High atop the arid plateaus of modern-day Turkey, the site of Göbekli Tepe presents a profound enigma. Here, over 11,000 years ago, hunter-gatherers erected a series of massive, T-shaped stone pillars arranged in circular formations. The pillars are covered in breathtakingly intricate carvings, not of random patterns, but of specific animals, scorpions, foxes, vultures, and birds. For decades, these carvings were interpreted as purely symbolic or religious, but recent archaeoastronomical analysis suggests they may also be a literal map of the night sky. Researchers propose that the animal symbols represent specific constellations, and the arrangement of the stone circles themselves corresponds to the pattern of stars above at the time of its construction. The vulture pillar, for instance, might mark the position of the constellation we know as Sagittarius, while a fox carving could correspond to another star group. If this interpretation is correct, it means that Göbekli Tepe was not just a temple, it was a monumental observatory carved in stone and story. The myths associated with these animal spirits would have given meaning to the celestial patterns, while the stone circles physically anchored those stories to the earth. This site, predating agriculture and permanent settlement, suggests that the human impulse to build in alignment with the cosmos and to encode that knowledge in powerful narratives may be far older and more fundamental to our species than we ever realized. It reveals a world where every story told and every stone placed was a deliberate act of cosmic cartography. A similar celestial drama unfolds in the heart of the Yucatan jungle. Twice each year, on the precise days of the spring and autumn equinox, the Great Pyramid of Kukulkan at Chichen Itza transforms into a breathtaking display of light and shadow. As the sun sets, the stepped corners of the massive platform cast a series of triangular shadows onto the main staircase's northern balustrade. These interlocking shapes connect to form the undulating body of a massive serpent, appearing to slither down from the temple at the summit to meet its stone head at the base of the stairs. For the ancient Maya, this was far more than a clever optical illusion. It was the divine descent of Kukulkan, the feathered serpent god, returning to Earth. This event drew thousands from across the region, uniting the community in a shared spectacle that blended profound astronomy with powerful religious belief. The platform itself is the instrument. Its design incorporates precise angles and dimensions, calculated over generations, to capture the sun's rays at that singular moment. The architects possessed an advanced understanding of solar geometry, engineering the entire structure to function as a colossal calendar marker. Archaeologists suggest this equinox phenomenon was the centerpiece of the agricultural year, a public signal that the time for planting or harvest had arrived, ensuring the community's survival was perfectly synchronized with the cosmos. Chichen Itza stands as a masterclass in turning a stone platform into a dynamic theater for celestial events, making the invisible movements of the sun a visible, awe-inspiring force for all to witness. This ingenious use of light and shadow to mark time and embody the divine was not unique to the Maya. In the ancient temples of India, architects were achieving similar feats, using sunlight to illuminate their own gods on specific holy days. That same mastery of light and architecture finds a breathtaking echo on the eastern coast of India. The Konark Sun Temple rises from the earth not merely as a building, but as a colossal stone chariot for the sun god Surya, pulled by 7 mighty horses and resting upon 24 elaborately carved wheels. Each element of this monumental platform is a precise astronomical instrument. As dawn breaks over the Bay of Bengal, the temple's main entrance is engineered to capture the very first rays of the sun, channeling that light deep into the inner sanctum in a daily performance of solar reverence. Throughout the day, the movement of shadows across the intricately carved stone surfaces tells the time with astonishing accuracy, transforming the entire structure into a giant, functional sundial. The wheels themselves are not just decorative, their spokes are calibrated to mark the hours, while the temple's broader alignments highlight the solstices and equinoxes. This was a place where art, science, and spirituality fused into a single, unified expression. Beyond its sacred purpose, the temple served a remarkably practical role for the ancient world. Its towering spire, visible far out to sea, acted as a navigational beacon for sailors. By observing the temple's position against the horizon, mariners could chart their course, a clear example of how celestial knowledge encoded in stone platforms directly aided exploration and trade. Konark represents a profound truth. The human desire to harmonize with cosmic rhythms is a universal impulse, appearing again and again in cultures separated by vast distances. How is it that such a specific and sophisticated understanding of the sun's path could manifest in India, in Mexico, and in the deserts of Egypt? The stones themselves suggest a possible answer, not in forgotten advanced technology, but in the slow, steady movement of people and ideas across the ancient world. The silent trade routes of the ancient world carried more than spices and silk. They were the information superhighways of their day, where merchants and travelers exchanged stories alongside goods. A sailor navigating by the stars in the Mediterranean might share his knowledge with a caravan master in Central Asia, who would then pass a new way of charting the seasons to a local chieftain. This slow, steady diffusion of ideas could explain the remarkable similarities in celestial platforms separated by continents. The Mesopotamians, with their sophisticated zodiac and detailed records of planetary movements, undoubtedly influenced the astronomical systems of neighboring cultures across the Near East and into Europe. Yet, in the isolated valleys of the Americas or the highlands of New Guinea, other cultures built solstice markers with the same precision, having had no conceivable contact with the Old World. This presents a compelling dilemma for researchers. Did the knowledge spread, or did it simply arise independently in multiple places? The answer is likely both. Some alignments, like the solstice sunrise, are so fundamental to marking the year that any culture watching the horizon closely would eventually notice the sun's stopping point. This is the theory of polygenesis, the idea that different human groups, sharing the same cognitive hardware and facing the same sky, would naturally arrive at similar conclusions. The human brain is wired to seek patterns, and the cosmos presents the most grand and reliable pattern of all. Whether through the slow migration of ideas along trade routes or through parallel invention born of a shared human curiosity, the result is a global tapestry. Each culture wove its own unique threads of myth and meaning into the cloth, but the underlying pattern of celestial observation remains strikingly consistent. To achieve such precision, whether in Peru or Egypt, required more than just naked eye observation. It demanded tools, simple in design yet profound in their effect, that could refine a glimpse into a measurement. Stone was the permanent library, but the daily work of an astronomer required more portable tools. For the ancient Egyptians, time itself was measured by the stars using an instrument called a merkit. Picture a priest on a clear, cool night, holding a simple forked stick with a weighted plumb line dangling from it. By sighting along the line to a specific star as it crossed an imaginary north-south meridian, he could determine the exact hour of the night. This was not a casual observation. It was a precise, repeatable measurement that helped calibrate the water clocks used indoors. It was the living, breathing practice that gave meaning to the alignments carved into temple walls. Across the Mediterranean, Greek philosophers used an even simpler device, the gnomon. This was just a vertical rod stuck into the ground, but its moving shadow was a wealth of information. By meticulously tracking the shadow's length at noon each day, they could pinpoint the solstices, the days when the shadow was at its longest or shortest. The entire year could be mapped out from the movement of a single dark line on the Earth. These portable tools were the notebooks of the ancient world, allowing for daily observations, corrections, and a deeper, more dynamic understanding of the sky than any static stone circle could provide alone. But what if these simple tools were just one part of a much more complex system? The discovery of the Antikythera mechanism shattered all previous assumptions about ancient technology. Recovered from a 2,000-year-old shipwreck, this corroded bronze device is now understood to be the world's first known analog computer. Using a system of over 30 intricate gear wheels, it could predict lunar and solar eclipses, track the cycles of the Olympic Games, and model the irregular motions of planets with stunning accuracy. Turning a handle would set a cosmic clockwork in motion, displaying the positions of celestial bodies on dials for any given date. This was not a tool for simple observation. It was a machine for calculation, a portable planetarium that brought the predictive power of the heavens into someone's hands. This artifact reveals a level of mechanical sophistication that historians once believed was impossible for its time. The combination was now complete: the grand, fixed stone platforms that marked the heavens for centuries, and the precise, portable instruments that allowed for daily measurement and complex prediction. This comprehensive system transformed entire societies. Accurate calendars dictated the timing of planting and harvest, securing the food supply. The ability to predict eclipses and celestial events bestowed immense social and political power, allowing rulers to demonstrate a special connection to the gods. Reliable navigation by the stars opened up trade routes across vast oceans, connecting cultures and spreading goods and ideas. This celestial knowledge was the bedrock of civilization itself, turning the chaotic patterns of life into an ordered, predictable world. This celestial knowledge was the ultimate tool for social organization, transforming the abstract movements of the heavens into the concrete rhythms of civilization. An accurate calendar was a matter of survival, dictating the precise window for planting and harvest. In Mesopotamia, a king's decree based on solar observations ensured his people planted their barley at the optimal moment, securing a food surplus that supported growing cities and complex societies. This predictability reduced the constant fear of famine, fostering stability and allowing for specialization in arts, crafts, and governance. But the influence of these cosmic clocks extended far beyond the fields. Religious festivals were scheduled to coincide with solstices or equinoxes, uniting entire populations in shared rituals that reinforced cultural identity. A Mayan priest, by accurately predicting a lunar eclipse, could demonstrate a direct line to the gods, legitimizing his authority and that of the ruler he served. This cosmic authority was a powerful glue, binding people together under a common belief system. Military campaigns and legal proceedings were also timed by the stars, with celestial events seen as auspicious or inauspicious for launching an attack or sealing a treaty. The entire fabric of daily life, from economics to law to warfare, was woven with threads of astronomical observation. This created a cohesive world view where human order was a direct reflection of cosmic order, a profound harmony between earth and sky. Yet this harmony was incredibly fragile. What happened when the calendar, the very heartbeat of society, began to fail? The consequences could be catastrophic. If a calendar based on a 12-month lunar cycle drifted out of sync with the solar year over time, the spring festival would eventually occur in the heat of summer, and the planting season would be missed. Such a loss of celestial coordination could lead to crop failure, economic collapse, and a devastating loss of faith in the ruling class who derived their power from the sky. The stones remained silent and accurate, but the human systems interpreting them could falter, reminding us that this ancient science was as much about maintaining social order as it was about understanding the stars. That same profound connection between light, stone, and rebirth illuminates a tomb in the Irish countryside. Newgrange is a massive, circular mound older than the pyramids of Giza, and for just 17 minutes each year, around the winter solstice, it performs a miracle of celestial engineering. A special opening above the entrance, known as a roof box, allows the first light of the dawn sun to pierce the total darkness of the long, narrow passage. A single, narrow beam of light creeps slowly along the stone floor, reaching deep into the central chamber to illuminate intricate spiral carvings on the far wall. After a journey of over 60 feet, this golden light briefly floods the inner sanctum before retreating. For the Neolithic people who built it, this was not a coincidence. It was a guaranteed promise from their ancestors, a demonstration that even in the year's deepest darkness, the sun would always return. The precision required to align the entire structure so that this event occurs only on those few crucial days, and has done so for over 5,000 years, speaks to a deep, generational understanding of the solar cycle. This was more than a tomb, it was a communal theater for the most important drama of the year. People would have gathered in the cold and dark, their breath visible in the air, to witness this annual validation of their beliefs. The shared experience of watching the sun reclaim the chamber would have reinforced social bonds, connecting the community to its past and its future through a single, brilliant shaft of light. The enduring accuracy of Newgrange proves how effectively stone can preserve knowledge, locking a solar calendar into the very landscape. This architectural idea of a long passage oriented to a celestial event was not unique to Ireland. A strikingly similar concept emerges across the sea in Brittany, where the stones tell a parallel story of cosmic alignment. Across the sea in Brittany, the sheer ambition of celestial architecture reaches its zenith with the Konark alignments. Over 3,000 standing stones stretch for miles across the French countryside, arranged in breathtakingly straight, parallel rows. To walk among them is to move through a forest of granite, a grid of silent sentinels erected by a society whose vision spanned generations. While sites like Stonehenge form a contained circle, Konark is a sprawling, open-air complex, and its purpose seems to be tied to this vast scale. Researchers suggest these rows functioned as a colossal astronomical calculator. On the morning of a solstice, the low sun would cast long, distinct shadows from each menhir, their dark lines converging and intersecting at specific points on the landscape like the hands of a cosmic clock. This created a living map of the sun's journey, a celestial grid etched directly onto the Earth. The alignments do not point to a single sunrise, but to a range of solar and lunar events, including the moon's most extreme rising and setting points during its long standstill cycle. By observing which stone or which gap between stones framed a particular celestial body, ancient astronomers could have tracked these slow cycles with remarkable precision, potentially using the entire array to predict eclipses. The immense investment required to erect such a monument indicates that Konark was far more than a local shrine. It was likely a regional center for knowledge, a place where specialist astronomers, or perhaps a priestly class, gathered to make observations that would guide the entire community. Their readings of the sky would have informed the agricultural calendar, the timing of ceremonies, and major social decisions, granting them immense authority derived from their command of celestial patterns. This knowledge was likely passed down through intricate rituals and repeated observations, turning the landscape itself into a sacred textbook. While the primary function appears to be astronomical, the sheer presence of so much stone arranged with such intention invites other interpretations. Some researchers point to the concept of geomancy, the idea of aligning structures with perceived energies of the Earth itself. The stones, positioned on specific ley lines or geological faults, might have been intended to harmonize the human realm with the powerful forces of the planet, blending sky and Earth into a single, interconnected system of meaning. This fusion of Earth and sky is written directly into the landscape itself. For the ancient builders, a hilltop was not merely a convenient vantage point. It was a place where the power of the Earth reached upward to meet the descending energy of the cosmos. The selection of a site for a stone platform was a deeply sacred act of geomancy, an art of reading the land to find these potent convergences. A river confluence where two waterways met was seen as a nexus of terrestrial force. A distinctive mountain peak, silhouetted against the horizon, provided a natural altar. These were not random choices, they were deliberate selections based on a holistic worldview that saw no separation between the geological, the hydrological, and the celestial. The platform itself became an interface, a kind of spiritual technology designed to plug the human community directly into this cosmic circuit. In Europe, this concept manifests in the theory of ley lines, hypothetical alignments that are said to connect ancient sacred sites across vast distances, many of which possess clear astronomical orientations. While the historical evidence for ley lines is debated, the idea powerfully captures the ancient intuition that the Earth is inscribed with invisible lines of energy, and that building on these lines amplified a structure's connection to the stars. This was a universal language of placement. In China, the practice of feng shui formalized this very principle, guiding architects to orient cities, tombs, and homes in harmony with the invisible currents of wind and water, aligning human structures with the greater patterns of the cosmos for health, prosperity, and spiritual balance. So how did this profound, integrated world translate into actual architectural design? The ancient Maya offer a masterclass in this celestial-terrestrial synthesis. Their cities were not simply built upon the land, they were woven into it. A pyramid was often positioned to mirror a sacred mountain in the distance, its summit becoming a man-made peak from which to observe the heavens. Plazas were oriented not just to the sun, but to the flow of underground water sources and the specific acoustics of the location, creating spaces where ritual chant would resonate with otherworldly power. The entire urban plan was a microcosm, a reflection of the perceived order of the universe, with temples acting as anchors holding the celestial, terrestrial, and underworld realms in a delicate, sacred balance. The platform was the pivotal point where all these forces met, a stable stage from which priests could engage the entire cosmos. The entire city of Teotihuacan was a grand argument written in stone, a declaration that human society could be a perfect reflection of the cosmos. Walking the street of the dead, you move through an urban plan dictated by the stars. This central avenue is not aligned to true north, but instead points directly to the setting point of the Pleiades star cluster, as it would have appeared over 2,000 years ago. For the Teotihuacanos, this cluster, known as the Chanquistli or marketplace, held profound significance, its heliacal rising marking the beginning of the agricultural season. The city's architects did not simply build a city and then add astronomical features. They first looked to the sky and then laid out their metropolis as a terrestrial map of the heavens. The pyramids of the sun and the moon are not randomly placed. They are precisely positioned to interact with the sun's journey. During the equinoxes, the pyramid of the sun casts a shadow that moves in perfect synchronization with the street of the dead, a slow, creeping demonstration of solar power integrated into the daily life of every citizen. This was a city that functioned as a single, massive observatory and calendar. The ruling class, whose identities remain mysterious to this day, derived immense authority from this celestial blueprint. By controlling the design, they positioned themselves as the indispensable intermediaries between the people and the cosmic forces that govern time, agriculture, and destiny. A common laborer living in a residential compound would have seen the pyramids every day, a constant reminder that the social order was as fixed and predictable as the path of the sun. This fusion of urban design and astronomy created a powerful, self-reinforcing system of control and meaning. But was Teotihuacan unique in its ambition, or was this cosmic city planning a common thread running through other great Mesoamerican capitals? For an answer, we must look to a rival power built atop a flattened mountain. The Zapotec city of Monte Albon rises from an artificially leveled hilltop in the Oaxaca Valley, a fortress capital that also speaks the language of the stars. Its main plaza is a vast, open space flanked by platforms and temples, and its entire orientation is aligned to capture specific celestial events. Most strikingly, a building known as Structure J, with its unique arrowhead shape, is believed to have been an observatory, its walls and corridors aligned with the bright star Capella and other significant celestial bodies. The Zapotecs, contemporaries and sometimes adversaries of Teotihuacan, shared this fundamental belief that a city's legitimacy and power depended on its connection to the heavens. While their architectural style was distinct, their underlying principle was the same: to build a world on Earth that mirrored the perfect, eternal order of the sky above. High in the mountains of Oaxaca, the Zapotec astronomers of Monte Albon engineered one of the most precise solar instruments ever discovered. Deep within a ceremonial platform, they constructed a narrow stone tube, perfectly vertical, designed for a single, breathtaking celestial event. Twice each year, the sun would reach its zenith, passing directly overhead so that no shadows were cast at all. At that exact moment, a brilliant shaft of sunlight would plunge straight down this dark tube, illuminating the chamber below for a fleeting instant. This was the zenith passage, a phenomenon only observable in the tropics, and the Zapotecs had built a stone instrument to capture it with unerring accuracy. Visualize a priest, his eyes fixed on the opening, waiting for that sudden burst of light to confirm a critical turning point in the year. This was not merely an observation, it was a calibration. In a latitude where the sun's path shifts dramatically, the zenith passage provided a fixed, unmistakable marker to correct the calendar, ensuring it did not drift out of sync with the seasons. The dates of these events likely signaled the arrival of vital rains or the time to prepare the fields, directly linking the sun's highest point to the community's survival. This ingenious tube reveals a profound truth that these ancient scientists were not just copying universal principles, they were brilliant adapters. They studied their local sky and crafted unique solutions, like this specialized stone site, to solve the specific astronomical challenges of their homeland. Beyond the sun, the city's platforms and structures were aligned with stars like Capella, proving that Monte Albon housed a complete cosmic observatory, a system that integrated multiple celestial bodies into a single, coherent worldview. This necessity for adaptation raises a fascinating question. How did astronomers living under vastly different skies, from the equatorial jungles to the Arctic Circle, develop their own unique tools to decode the heavens? The specific design of every stone platform was a direct response to its local sky. An architect in the frigid Arctic observed a celestial rhythm completely alien to one working under the blazing equatorial sun. This fundamental truth that the sky itself dictates the design is the key to understanding the incredible diversity of these ancient observatories. For an Inuit shaman, the critical event was not a sunrise, but the summer solstice midnight sun, a day when the sun never sets at all. His stone markers would be arranged to frame the sun's low, endless circuit along the horizon, a vital reference for tracking the migration of caribou and the brief window of abundance. His entire cosmological framework was built around circumpolar stars, those constant, unwavering sentinels like the North Star that never dip below the horizon, providing a fixed pivot point around which the entire heavens turned. This was a world of constant celestial motion, but with reliable, eternal anchors. Meanwhile, a Polynesian navigator guiding his vessel across the vast, empty Pacific lived under a completely different sky. On the equator, the sun passes directly overhead at its zenith, casting no shadow twice a year. His stone platforms, or mari, were often designed to mark this precise moment, a phenomenon useless for timekeeping in higher latitudes. For him, the zenith passage of specific stars was the critical data point, a celestial signpost confirming his position on the featureless ocean. His star compass was not based on stars that rose and set, but on the entire dome of the sky, memorizing the rising and setting points of hundreds of stars to create a mental grid for wayfinding. This stark contrast in design is written into the stones themselves. The great temples of Egypt, located at a specific latitude, were perfectly aligned to the annual heliacal rising of Sirius, an event that signaled the life-giving Nile flood. Far to the north, the ancient Scandinavians carved elaborate rock art that captured the moment of the winter solstice sunrise, a desperately awaited turning point in the long, dark winter. Each culture solved the puzzle of the cosmos using the pieces their local sky provided. So how did they achieve such consistent accuracy across these vastly different environments without a universal standard of measurement? The answer lies not in complex technology, but in the elegant application of simple geometry. A length of rope, a set of stakes, and a knowledge of basic triangles could create a perfectly square foundation or a precise alignment to a star on the horizon. The circle, the square, and the triangle became the universal tools for mapping the heavens onto the Earth. The stones themselves reveal a hidden blueprint of geometric genius. Ancient astronomers did not require complex equations, but they mastered the elegant language of shape and proportion. A simple rope stretched between two stakes could become a giant compass, inscribing a perfect circle onto the Earth. By dividing this circle into equal segments, they could mark the sun's rising and setting positions at the solstices and equinoxes, creating a durable solar calendar etched directly into the landscape. This was practical geometry in its purest form, a tool for turning observed patterns into permanent, measurable reality. The power of the right-angled triangle was also well understood, long before the name of Pythagoras was ever recorded. A builder could create a perfect right angle using a knotted rope with segments in a 3-4-5 ratio, ensuring that the walls of a temple were square and its alignments to the horizon were flawlessly true. This foundational knowledge allowed for staggering precision. The Great Pyramid of Giza stands as the ultimate testament to this principle. Its base is a near-perfect square, and its original dimensions encode both the mathematical constant pi and the golden ratio, phi, proportions that resonate throughout the natural world and the perceived harmony of the cosmos. Its sides are aligned to the 4 cardinal directions with an error of less than a fraction of a single degree, an achievement that seems to defy its era. This was not mere coincidence, it was a deliberate act of cosmic engineering, using universal geometry to anchor a monument to the heavens, but such precision was not achieved in a single attempt. How could these builders be certain their alignments were correct? The process was one of relentless observation and patient refinement. A stone would be placed, its position checked against a star's rise for an entire year, and then minutely adjusted, a cycle repeated over generations. This iterative process, this conversation between the architect and the sky, ensured that the final platform was not just a symbol, but a supremely accurate scientific instrument. These 13 stone towers march across a desert ridge in Peru like a great stone spine, a silent calendar carved not from parchment but from the earth itself. This is Chanquillo, a solar observatory so elegantly simple and brutally effective that it redefines our understanding of early astronomy in the Americas. Built in the 4th century before the Common Era, long before the Inca Empire rose, its design is breathtakingly direct. From 2 distinct viewing platforms, one to the west and one to the east, a person could watch the sunrise. Throughout the year, the sun would rise in a shifting point along the horizon, and each of the 13 towers corresponded to a specific date in this solar journey. On the December solstice, the sun would crest directly over the southernmost tower. As the months progressed, the sunrise would march northward, tower by tower, until it reached the northernmost tower on the June solstice, before beginning its slow journey back. An observer standing at the correct platform needed only to note which tower was crowned by the sun's first light to know the precise date within just a few days' accuracy. This was a public, undeniable calendar, a celestial clock face with stone numerals. Its genius lies in its integration with the landscape. The builders did not need to move mountains. They used the natural ridge, shaping and placing the towers to turn the entire horizon into a calibrated instrument. This system provided the vital rhythm for an entire society, dictating the timing for planting crops, for holding ceremonies, for organizing trade, and for unifying the community under a single celestial schedule. It proves that a culture does not need complex gearwork or towering pyramids to achieve astronomical mastery. It needs only patience, keen observation, and the wisdom to build in concert with the world as it is. This profound use of the horizon as a measuring tool was not confined to the coast of Peru. Far to the north, in the arid mesas of the American Southwest, the ancestral Pueblones, sometimes called the Anasazi, were creating their own intricate horizon calendars. High on a sheer sandstone cliff in Choco Canyon, a sliver of light performs an ancient, silent ritual. Upon the shaded face of Fajada Butte, a large spiral petroglyph is carved into the rock, and for most of the year it rests in shadow. But on the summer solstice, a transformation occurs. The sun climbs to its peak, and three massive, carefully positioned stone slabs channel its rays into a single, sharp dagger of light. This brilliant beam slices directly through the center of the spiral, a moment of perfect alignment that lasts for only a few minutes before the light moves on. On the winter solstice, two daggers of light appear, perfectly framing the same carved spiral. This was no accident of nature. It was a deliberate and incredibly fragile astronomical instrument, a lithic computer built directly into the face of the butt. The precision required to create the sun dagger is almost beyond comprehension. The three sandstone slabs, each weighing several tons, were not part of the original cliff. They were moved into their precise, leaning positions by human hands, creating a narrow channel that acts as a camera obscura, focusing the sunlight into that distinct, dagger-like shape. The placement had to be exact, not just for the solstices, but also to mark the equinoxes with a similar, though different, light show. For the ancestral Pueblones, the Anasazi, this was likely a profound ceremonial clock. The moment the light touched the spiral's center was a signal from the gods, a time to begin or end a vital ritual, to chant prayers for the sun's return, or to celebrate the balance of the world. The site's inaccessibility and fragility suggest it was not a public calendar for all, but a sacred observatory for a select few, perhaps a single astronomer priest who would climb the treacherous butt to witness the event, and then deliver the celestial decree to the people below. This delicate dance of light and stone, however, was not meant to last. The very act of studying the sun dagger in the 1970s led to its accidental disruption. A single footstep or a shifted surveying tool was enough to alter the delicate equilibrium of the slabs. Today, the phenomenon is no longer perfectly aligned. The sun dagger still appears, but its perfect bisection of the spiral is a memory, a poignant reminder of how easily this ancient knowledge can be lost. Its ephemeral nature deepens the mystery, showing that this science was a living, breathing practice that required constant guardianship. When such a precise site falls out of use, its meaning does not simply vanish. It often filters down through the generations, its original astronomical purpose slowly transforming into legend and cultural tradition, a story told around the fire long after the last priest has climbed the butt. That delicate knowledge, once etched in stone, found a new home in the human voice. Long after platforms like the sun dagger fell into silence, the cosmic wisdom they preserved was carried forward in stories told around fires, in songs sung during ceremonies, and in the practical teachings passed from elder to child. This was the living library of oral tradition, a resilient system for safeguarding celestial science across countless generations. An elder might point to a specific constellation, weaving a tale of a great hunter or a celestial emu, and within that narrative would be embedded the memory of when that star group appears, signaling the time to harvest a certain plant or to follow a particular animal migration. The story itself was the mnemonic device, a compelling and unforgettable container for vital data. This oral knowledge did not exist in a vacuum. It often perfectly complemented the silent alignments of the stone platforms. Where archaeologists find a temple oriented to the solstice sunrise, folklorists might discover a legend about the sun god resting on that very platform on the longest day of the year. The stones provided the permanent physical proof, while the stories provided the operating manual, explaining the meaning and purpose behind the alignment. Nowhere is this fusion of story, song, and science more profound than in the Aboriginal Australian concept of songlines. These are not merely songs in the Western sense, they are intricate oral maps of the entire continent. A single songline is a sequence of verses that describes a path across the land, noting sacred rocks, waterholes, and mountain ranges, Crucially, these verses are also linked to the stars above. As a traveler sings the song, they are not just remembering geographical landmarks, they are also navigating by the constellations that appear over those specific locations at different times of the year. The songline is a cosmic roadmap sung into existence, allowing people to traverse vast, featureless deserts with stunning accuracy. The endurance of these traditions for thousands of years underscores a fundamental truth that observing the heavens was never a detached academic exercise. It was woven into the very fabric of daily life, spirituality, and identity. This realization is sparking a powerful new chapter in archaeoastronomy, one built on collaboration. How do modern scientists, with their satellites and computers, learn from indigenous knowledge holders, the inheritors of these ancient oral libraries? This partnership is revealing new insights that neither could achieve alone. A Western astronomer might use software to model the precession of the stars over millennia, while an indigenous elder can point to a specific rock art panel and share a story that confirms the star's position 2,000 years ago. Together, they are creating a more complete and respectful understanding of humanity's oldest science, proving that the stones and the stories are two halves of a single, enduring truth. This modern validation begins in a field at dawn, with a researcher peering through a laser theodolite at a standing stone. The crosshairs are fixed on the distant horizon, waiting. As the sun crests the hill, its first brilliant edge appears exactly in the notch between two ancient pillars, just as the computer model predicted. Tools like GPS and laser scanning now allow for measurements with sub-degree accuracy, confirming that the alignments we can barely perceive with the naked eye were intentionally and precisely engineered. For a site like Stonehenge, sophisticated software can wind back the celestial clock, accounting for the slow wobble of Earth's axis known as precession. This reveals that alignments which seem slightly off today were 4,000 years ago perfect frames for the rising sun or the extreme moon. The stones are not just roughly pointing east, they are targeting a specific celestial event on a specific day with an accuracy that silences claims of random chance. This digital reconstruction is more than a technical exercise. It allows us to see the sky through the eyes of the builders, rebuilding their cosmological models from the ground up. These collaborations are increasingly bridging worlds, uniting archaeologists with astronomers and, crucially, with the living descendants of the monument builders. Where a satellite image might show a geometric pattern, an indigenous knowledge keeper can explain its meaning as a ceremonial pathway or a story in the land. This fusion of hard data and cultural memory creates a far richer picture, transforming a silent astronomical instrument back into a vibrant part of a living worldview. Yet this field is not without its passionate debates. A central controversy lies in distinguishing intentional alignment from an accidental one. With hundreds of stones at a site, critics argue that by pure chance some will line up with something in the sky. The response from researchers is to look for statistical redundancy, for multiple lines of evidence pointing to the same celestial event. If one stone aligns with the winter solstice sunset, does another mark the summer solstice sunrise? Does the architecture repeat this alignment? This is where the true patterns emerge from the noise, revealing a conscious design. Other debates swirl around alternative theories that propose these platforms were built by a lost civilization or with help from advanced non-human intelligence. Mainstream science gently pushes back, not by dismissing curiosity, but by pointing to the overwhelming evidence of human ingenuity, the slow, patient work of generations, the simple tools of rope and sighting poles, and the profound motivation to connect with the cosmos are more than sufficient to explain these marvels. The stones themselves are the best argument against the need for outside intervention. standing as a permanent testament to the breathtaking capabilities of the human mind. Determining the line between ancient intention and simple chance is one of the greatest challenges in this field. A skeptic might stand at a site with dozens of scattered stones and note that purely by random probability, one of them is bound to frame the solstice sunrise. This is not an idle concern, it is a call for scientific rigor. Researcher Ronald Hicks famously urged caution, pointing out that without strong statistical evidence and a clear cultural context, labeling any alignment of stones as an observatory risks seeing patterns where none exist. The debate often centers on a principle known as the Texas sharpshooter fallacy, where someone fires a bullet at a barn wall and then paints a target around the hole after the fact. In archaeoastronomy, this would mean starting with a known celestial event and then searching for any stone at a site that happens to align with it, while ignoring all the other stones that do not. This approach can easily create a compelling but ultimately false narrative. To counter this, researchers must look for redundancy. Does a single site have multiple independent alignments pointing to the same celestial event, like both a doorway and a window framing the same solstice sunrise? Is there archaeological evidence, like artifacts or carvings, that suggest the culture held that specific day as sacred? This multidisciplinary approach weaves together threads from astronomy, archaeology, and ethnography to build a case strong enough to withstand skepticism. Alongside these academic debates, a different kind of interpretation has emerged, one that sometimes clouds the scientific waters. New Age narratives often attribute powerful Earth energies or mystical ley lines to these platforms, speaking of them as portals or power nodes. While these ideas capture the imagination and speak to a deep human desire for connection, they frequently lack the testable evidence and cultural specificity that rigorous research demands. They can, at times, overshadow the genuine achievement of the builders, replacing their documented astronomical prowess with speculative metaphysics. The true wonder is not diminished by a scientific lens, it is magnified. The realization that our ancestors, using only their eyes and their intellect, could design structures that still track the cosmos with pinpoint accuracy today is a testament to human ingenuity that needs no embellishment. Navigating these controversies ultimately strengthens the field, forcing a constant return to the evidence and a deeper appreciation for the complex, integrated worldviews that gave rise to these stone sentinels in the first place. From the heart of the Inca Empire, a web of invisible lines once organized the entire cosmos. The city of Cusco was the center of this system, with the Coricancha, the golden temple of the sun, serving as its hub. Radiating out from this sacred center were 41 straight pathways known as sects, each one a precise alignment pointing to a specific huaca, or shrine. These shrines were not all grand temples, many were simple natural features, a distinctive spring, an unusual rock formation, or a high mountain peak. Each huaca along a sect line held a specific meaning, marking not only geographic and social divisions of the empire, but also acting as celestial markers. The entire system functioned as a massive, landscape-scale calendar and observatory, integrating the flow of water, the structure of society, and the movement of the stars into a single, unified whole. At the heart of this celestial web stood the Moon Pyramid, a platform dedicated to Mama Quilla, the moon goddess. This pyramid was far more than a place of worship. It was a sophisticated lunar observatory. Its alignments, carefully calibrated along the sect lines, likely tracked the moon's complex 18-year cycle, its phases, and the ominous events of eclipses. Inca priests would have used these precise alignments to anticipate lunar eclipses, which were seen as a dire crisis, a moment when a great serpent or jaguar was attacking the moon. During an eclipse, they would stage elaborate rituals from the pyramid, making noise and offering prayers to drive the celestial predator away and restore balance to the universe. This was astronomy as a direct administrative and spiritual tool. The sect system told people not only when to plant and harvest, but also which social group was responsible for maintaining which shrine and when to perform their ceremonies. It wove astronomy directly into the fabric of law, agriculture, and religion, making the cosmic order the undeniable foundation of imperial power. This profound integration of sky and society finds a stunning parallel in the vast expanse of the Pacific Ocean. Polynesian navigators developed a system just as complex and comprehensive, a mental map of the stars known as the star compass. A master navigator stands within a circle of stones on a remote Pacific beach, each rock a silent teacher. These platforms were the classrooms of the ocean, physical models of the star compass, a mental map that guided voyagers across thousands of miles of open sea. Each stone represented not a destination, but a direction, a specific point on the horizon where a key star would rise or set. An apprentice would walk this stone circle night after night, internalizing the celestial pathways until the map was etched into his mind. He learned that when the star Arcturus set directly into one stone's position, it signaled a course to the Hawaiian Islands. When Sirius rose over another, it pointed the way south. This was not theoretical knowledge, it was a survival skill refined over generations, allowing the Polynesian people to discover and settle every habitable island across the vast Pacific, the greatest navigational feat in human history. The stone platforms found from the Marquesas to Hawaii were the fixed reference points that kept this oral science accurate. Before a long voyage, navigators would use these platforms to recalibrate their mental star compass, checking their knowledge against the permanent stones to ensure no drift had occurred in their memory over time. This integration of the tangible and the mental created a system of breathtaking resilience. The arrival of European ships with their magnetic compasses and charts introduced new tools, and in many places the old ways began to fade. The profound knowledge of the star compass, once passed from master to apprentice in secret, faced a period of steep decline. Yet this period of cultural shift also prompted a crucial act of preservation. Some of the last traditional navigators began sharing their knowledge with ethnographers, ensuring that the principles of the star compass were recorded for future generations, saving a priceless piece of human ingenuity from being lost to the waves of change. This history carries a profound and difficult legacy. When colonial powers expanded across the globe, they brought with them not only new systems of governance, but also a dismissive view of indigenous knowledge. The sophisticated astronomical practices of native peoples were frequently labeled as mere superstition, something to be eradicated and replaced. Spanish missionaries in the Americas systematically sought out and burned Maya codices, priceless books filled with generations of celestial observations, eclipse records, and planetary cycles. In Australia, British colonists disregarded the intricate Aboriginal songlines, viewing them as primitive myths rather than the complex navigational and seasonal calendars they truly were. This systematic suppression was a catastrophic blow to human understanding, silencing entire libraries of cosmic science. Yet, in the face of this pressure, the knowledge did not vanish entirely. It was forced underground, preserved in secret ceremonies, hidden petroglyphs, and the whispered stories of elders who risked much to keep their traditions alive. Some early ethnographers, often working against the grain of their time, managed to record fragments of these systems, providing us with priceless glimpses into the astronomical worldviews that existed before contact. The survival of this knowledge is a testament to incredible cultural resilience. In recent decades, a powerful movement of revival has taken root. descendant communities are now leading the effort to piece together their celestial heritage, often working in partnership with archaeologists and astronomers who approach this work with respect and a desire to listen. This collaborative spirit is transforming the field, showing that the study of ancient stone platforms is not just an archaeological pursuit, but an active process of cultural recovery. And in this modern revival, new tools are proving to be invaluable allies. Digital planetarium software can recreate the night sky as it appeared 1,000 years ago, allowing elders to confirm the stellar alignments described in their oral histories. High-resolution satellite imagery and LiDAR scans can reveal hidden patterns in the landscape, uncovering forgotten platforms and processional ways that align with the stars. These technologies are not replacing traditional knowledge, they are helping to validate and amplify it, creating a bridge between the wisdom of the ancestors and the tools of the present. This partnership is ensuring that the silent stones will once again have their stories told, not as curiosities, but as the foundational science of a resilient people. Digital reconstruction now allows us to look through the eyes of the builders themselves. By entering the precise coordinates of a stone platform into specialized software, researchers can wind back the celestial clock, peeling away millennia of precession to reveal the exact sky that hung over a site on the day it was completed. This process transforms abstract theory into visual confirmation. At the Göbekli Circle in Germany, a simple arrangement of wooden palisades built over 7,000 years ago was long suspected to be a solar observatory. Digital simulation proved it, showing that the gaps in the enclosure perfectly framed both the sunrise and sunset on the winter solstice, the shortest day of the year. We can now watch a virtual sun rise through that precise gap, confirming its role as one of the oldest known solar calendars in the world. This technology does more than just validate alignments, it breathes life into ceremony. We can visualize how the first beam of solstice light would have sliced across a darkened platform, striking a central altar or illuminating a carved symbol at the very moment a chant began. This digital stagecraft helps us understand the profound theatricality of these sites, where architecture, astronomy, and human ritual fused into a single, powerful experience. Yet this powerful tool comes with a profound responsibility. As we digitally excavate these sites, we must ask who has the right to interpret their meaning. For descendant communities, these platforms are not ruins for study but living parts of their cultural and spiritual heritage. The ethical path forward is one of partnership, where technological inquiry is guided by deep respect and a commitment to preservation. The goal is not just to understand the mechanics of the stones, but to honor the living legacy they represent. This ethical responsibility now guides how we approach these silent stone libraries. The conversation has fundamentally shifted from simply studying ancient structures to engaging respectfully with the living cultures that descend from their builders. A truly collaborative project unfolds not as an excavation but as a dialogue. Picture an archaeologist walking a site not with a team of students but alongside an indigenous elder. The researcher points out a potential astronomical alignment visible through a laser theodolite, while the elder shares a traditional story that explains the spiritual meaning of that same alignment, a story passed down through countless generations. This partnership ensures that the knowledge recovered is not just technically accurate but culturally whole. It transforms the site from a mere object of study back into a place of living memory. Critical to this process are issues of control and respect. Who has the right to grant access to a sacred platform? Who interprets its meaning for the public? The repatriation of artifacts taken from these sites decades ago is a vital step in healing historical wounds and restoring cultural continuity. modern ethical practices demand the use of non-invasive technologies. LiDAR, which maps the landscape with lasers from an aircraft, can reveal hidden structures without a single shovel breaking the ground. When publishing findings, researchers now rightly acknowledge traditional knowledge as a valid and essential source of data, giving credit to the communities who have been the guardians of this science all along. This collaborative model fosters mutual respect and ensures that archaeoastronomy becomes a force for cultural preservation, not just academic discovery. So how can we, as visitors and enthusiasts, engage with these powerful places responsibly? Tourism, when managed with care, offers a profound opportunity. Choosing to visit with guides from the local community, following all posted guidelines, and treating these platforms as the sacred spaces they are, all contribute to their preservation. Education is the other key. By seeking out resources created by or in partnership with indigenous peoples, we can ensure our understanding is rooted in respect. Our wonder at these celestial stones is deepened when it is paired with a commitment to honor the living cultures that still hear their ancient stories. This mindful approach reveals that the greatest alignment of all is not between stone and star, but between past wisdom and present respect. The silent stones of Mnajdra hold a calendar written in light. On the island of Malta, a temple complex built around 3600 BC captures the sun with breathtaking regularity. Its lower temple is a masterpiece of Neolithic engineering, with a main doorway that acts as a celestial sight. On the mornings of the spring and autumn equinox, the first rays of the sun pass directly through this entrance, projecting a perfect rectangle of light onto a large stone slab deep within the central chamber. It is a moment of profound alignment, a beam of light traveling along a sacred corridor to announce a day of perfect balance. As the seasons turn, the alignment shifts. During the summer and winter solstices, the sun's rays instead illuminate the edges of the same doorway, framing the stone megaliths on either side and marking the sun's extreme northern and southern turning points. This is not a single alignment, but a complete solar calendar carved from Globigerina limestone. The builders shaped the entire structure to function as an observatory, with specific altars and carved niches designed to be illuminated only on these most significant days of the year. This precision suggests a society with a deep, specialized understanding of the solar cycle, knowledge that was seamlessly woven into their spiritual world. The temple itself was likely the stage for powerful rituals timed to these celestial events, ceremonies that united the community with the rhythms of the cosmos. A short distance away, the massive Jiwith above Gantija temples echo this celestial design. Though less perfectly preserved, their orientation and architecture suggest they, too, were built to track the sun, proving that this astronomical science was a cornerstone of Maltese temple culture. The fact that we can stand in these same doorways today and witness the very same light show is a powerful link across more than 5,000 years, a direct connection to the minds that first sought to build order from the movement of the sun. The great stone temples of Jiwith above Gantija rise from the island of Gozo like a fossilized memory. These colossal structures, among the oldest freestanding buildings in the world, hold a silent alignment with the cosmos. On the equinox, the sun's path synchronizes perfectly with the main temple axis. The first light of dawn streams through the entrance, traveling deep into the inner chambers where it strikes specific carvings and altars. Among these illuminated symbols are figures often interpreted as representations of a mother goddess, their stone surfaces suddenly bathed in golden light. This was no random effect. It was a deliberate fusion of astronomy and belief, linking the sun's moment of perfect balance to profound concepts of fertility, rebirth, and the promise of abundance for the community. The entire ritual cycle of the year, from planting to harvest, was likely anchored to these celestial events witnessed within the temple's heart. The continuity of this solar theme across Maltese sites, from Mnajdra to Jiwith, above Gantaja, points to a sophisticated and cohesive cosmological system shared across the archipelago. The scale of the building project itself is staggering. Erecting these multi-ton limestone blocks without metal tools, without the wheel, required a breathtaking feat of social organization. What could compel a society to dedicate generations of labor to such a task? The answer lies in a powerful convergence of community effort and shared belief. The motivation was not merely practical, it was deeply spiritual. By building in alignment with the cosmos, the community was participating in the maintenance of cosmic order itself, ensuring the sun would return, the rains would fall, and life would continue. This collective endeavor transformed the temple from a simple building into a sacred machine, a permanent anchor connecting their world to the eternal rhythms of the universe. The sheer scale of these projects required a social engine capable of moving mountains. Behind every precisely placed stone stood a complex society organized around a shared celestial vision. A single chief or priest could not command a 20-ton block to rise, but they could direct the collective will of hundreds, united by a promise of cosmic favor or the undeniable prestige of contributing to a monument for the ages. This was not slave labor in the grim sense often imagined, but a form of seasonal, communal work that wove together the fabric of entire regions. Farmers, having brought in their harvest, would travel from distant villages to contribute their labor to a project like Stonehenge or the Great Pyramids of Egypt. They were fed and housed, participating in a grand endeavor that transcended their individual lives. This seasonal rhythm of labor transformed a practical task into a powerful social ritual, forging a shared identity and a common purpose across a dispersed population. The investment itself reveals what a culture valued most, and for these societies, understanding and influencing the cosmos justified any amount of effort. The very act of building together reinforced the social hierarchy, with the ruling class coordinating the effort and the broader community finding their place within a grand cosmic plan. This need to manage such immense projects, to track labor, materials, and the celestial schedule itself, may have provided a crucial spark for one of humanity's greatest inventions, writing. The earliest forms of notation in places like Mesopotamia were not for poetry, but for accounting, recording the distribution of grain to workers or the movement of stones for a temple platform. The drive to build in alignment with the heavens may have directly spurred the development of the very systems that allowed us to record our history. That connection between monumental labor and record-keeping marks a pivotal turn in human history. The very first marks pressed into wet clay were not stories or laws, but numbers and names for things, the essential accounting of a society building towards the sky. In the Fertile Crescent of Mesopotamia, a scribe would take a stylus and press wedge-shaped marks into a soft tablet, creating cuneiform. Many of the earliest surviving tablets are administrative records, lists of rations for temple workers or shipments of stone for a new ziggurat platform. But among these practical documents, we find something extraordinary, the first written records of the planets. A tablet might carefully note the appearance of Venus as the morning star, its brilliance and position meticulously recorded not for poetry, but for prediction. This was data. The ability to write down an observation allowed a priest to compare this year's celestial event with one from 20 years prior, to spot patterns invisible within a single human lifetime. Writing transformed astronomy from a living memory into a permanent archive, creating a database that spanned generations. This same impulse appears halfway across the world. The Maya elevated this practice to a high art, carving intricate glyphs into stone stelae, tall pillars that stood in their city plazas. These were not merely monuments to kings, they were cosmic chronicles. A typical stela would record a ruler's accession to power, but it would anchor that historical event within a vast celestial timeline, citing its position in cycles of the moon, Venus, and the sun with mind-boggling precision. The glyphs themselves often incorporated astronomical symbols, a fusion of writing and cosmic iconography that made every public declaration a lesson in the order of the universe. In China, the oracle bone script of the Shang dynasty reveals a deep preoccupation with celestial divination. A priest would inscribe a question onto a turtle shell or an ox scapula, apply a hot poker to create cracks, and then interpret the pattern to divine the future. Many of these questions were directly astronomical. Will the coming eclipse bring misfortune? Is the king's journey aligned with favorable stars? The written record of both the question and the interpreted answer created a feedback loop, allowing priests to refine their predictive models over centuries. This need for precision, for documenting complex cycles that unfolded over decades, likely pushed these early writing systems to evolve. Simple pictorial symbols for the sun or a star were not sufficient to convey the timing of an eclipse or the retrograde motion of Mars. This demanded a shift toward more abstract characters that could represent syllables, numbers, and grammatical structures, enabling the recording of not just what was seen, but when, how long, and what it might mean. This newly codified knowledge did not stay locked in one place. It traveled along the same trade routes that carried spices, textiles, and ideas. A merchant caravan carrying cuneiform tablets from Mesopotamia could introduce lunar cycle records to a new culture where local scribes might adapt the concept using their own emerging symbols. Conquests and diplomatic marriages spread these astronomical texts even further, creating a slow but steady cross-pollination of cosmic understanding across the ancient world. The stone platform provided the public communal witness to a celestial event, but the written tablet preserved the private, cumulative data that gave that event its true predictive power. High on a windswept Wyoming plateau, the Big Horn medicine wheel rests against the sky. This ancient stone pattern, a perfect circle with 28 spokes radiating from a central cairn, is far more than a geometric design. It is a map of the heavens laid carefully upon the earth. At the ends of its key spokes, larger stone cairns act as precise sighting points. From the central hub, an observer looking over one cairn would see the summer solstice sun rise in a blaze of light. Gazing along another spoke, the same person could track the dawn rising of the brilliant star Sirius or the red giant Aldebaran. Each alignment marked a specific, crucial moment in the annual cycle. For the Native American tribes of the region, including the Crow, Shoshone, and Arapaho, this was a sacred calendar in stone. Its alignments told them when the bison would be at their peak for the summer hunt, when specific routes were ready for gathering, and when the community should gather for its most important ceremonies. The wheel's design is a masterpiece of elegant simplicity, using the vast, open horizon as its dial and the celestial bodies as its moving hands. Oral histories describe the site as a place for vision quests and healing, where individuals sought spiritual guidance under the star-filled sky. The astronomical alignments were not separate from this spirituality. They were its foundation, connecting personal transformation to the grand, predictable rhythms of the universe. The profound endurance of this knowledge is its own miracle, with the site remaining a place of ceremony and reverence for indigenous peoples to this day, a living thread connecting the present to a deep astronomical past. Across the North American plains, other medicine wheels share this common purpose while showcasing local innovation. The Moose Mountain Medicine Wheel in Saskatchewan, for instance, features alignments to the solstices and the star rigel, while the Majorville wheel in Alberta is one of the oldest, its stones laid down over thousands of years. Each wheel is uniquely calibrated to its local horizon and the specific stars important to its builders, yet all serve the same universal human need to find order in the cosmos and weave that order into the fabric of daily life and spiritual practice. The Moose Mountain Medicine Wheel rests on a high Canadian plateau, its stone spokes a silent compass pointing toward the stars. Like its counterpart at Big Horn, this ancient circle aligns its cairns with the solstice sunrises, but its celestial map extends even further. Specific stones mark the heliacal rising of key stars, that first, brief appearance of a star like Aldebaran or Sirius just before dawn. This was not a single event, but a sequence of celestial signals throughout the year. An elder would stand with a young apprentice at the wheel's center, their voices quiet in the vast prairie wind. The elder's finger would trace a path from the central cairn to a distant stone, explaining that when a certain star rose over that marker, it was time to move the camp for the summer hunt or to gather a specific medicinal plant when its potency was highest. This was how knowledge survived, passed from one mind to another using the stone wheel as a permanent, reliable teaching aid. The site's remote location has protected its original alignments, and modern surveys with laser theodolites confirm what oral tradition has long held, that these stones are a precise astronomical instrument. The true genius of the medicine wheel lies in its portability. The design itself was a kind of intellectual technology, a blueprint that could be recreated anywhere on the Great Plains. A community migrating to a new territory could build a new wheel, calibrating its spokes to their unique local horizon while adhering to the shared cosmological framework. This consistency across hundreds of miles reveals a deep, unifying understanding of the cosmos among the Plains tribes, a common language written not on parchment, but in stone patterns under the open sky. This concept of portable astronomy took many elegant forms beyond the great stone circles. A sun stone, a small handheld disk with a central hole, could be used to project a sharp image of the sun, allowing an observer to safely track its position and note the changing length of its path. Even simpler were notched tally sticks, where each groove could represent a day, with special marks for the solstices or the first sighting of an important star. These were the pocket notebooks of the ancient world, personal tools that complemented the grand, public statements of the medicine wheels. Together, they formed a complete system for living in rhythm with a sky whose patterns were as essential as the earth beneath their feet. These portable artifacts transformed celestial knowledge into a personal possession, something that could travel with a merchant or fit in the palm of a priest. The Nebra sky disk is a stunning example, a bronze shield from the heart of Europe over 3,600 years old. Its surface is a miniature cosmos, inlaid with gold symbols that shimmer against a deep blue-green patina. A cluster of stars, a crescent moon, and a full sun or perhaps a full moon are depicted, along with two golden arcs along the rim that likely marked the solstice sunrises and sunsets as seen from its original hilltop location. Imagine a Bronze Age trader, his journey taking him far from the great stone circles, unfurling this object from a leather wrap. He would hold it up, comparing the gold stars on the disk to the constellations emerging in the twilight sky. This was not mere jewelry, it was a functional instrument, a portable almanac that condensed the complex rhythms of the sun and moon into a single, durable object. It allowed a single individual to carry the predictive power of an observatory with them, blending practical timekeeping with what we can assume was deep spiritual significance. This flexibility was crucial for a life on the move. While the great platforms were fixed calendars for an entire community, a tool like the Nebra disk provided a personal reference, a way for an individual to stay synchronized with the cosmic order no matter where they roamed. This same need for portable precision extended to the high seas. Icelandic sagas speak of a mysterious sunstone, a crystal that could reveal the sun's position even through dense cloud cover or the brief twilight of the northern summer. Researchers believe these may have been pieces of calcite, a crystal that possesses a property known as birefringence. When you hold a calcite crystal up to the sky and rotate it, the light passing through it splits into two beams. By finding the orientation where these two beams are of equal brightness, a skilled navigator could pinpoint the exact location of the hidden sun with remarkable accuracy. This was a tool of life and death for Viking explorers, allowing them to traverse the North Atlantic when the sky was a uniform blanket of gray. It turned an overcast day from a navigational disaster into a manageable challenge, proving that ancient astronomy was as much about practical wayfinding as it was about ceremony. For the rhythms of daily life and the tracking of shorter cycles, even simpler tools sufficed. A tally stick, a piece of bone or wood with a series of notches carved into it, could be a personal calendar. Found across Europe and Africa, these sticks often have markings in groups that correspond to the phases of the moon. A user might make a new notch each day, with a special mark for the new moon or the full moon, allowing them to anticipate the next lunar phase or even track the longer cycle between eclipses. These humble objects show that astronomical literacy was not confined to a priestly class. A farmer could use a tally stick to know when to plant by the moon, or a herder could track the seasons for migration. These portable tools worked in perfect harmony with the great stone platforms. The platform was the permanent, community-wide standard, the cathedral of celestial knowledge. The portable artifact was the personal prayer book, the individual's guide to interpreting that same knowledge in their daily travels and tasks. Together, they wove a cosmic awareness into every level of society, from the grandest public ceremony to the most intimate personal journey. Deep within the stone forest of Konark, the longest axis of the great temple of Amun-Re holds a secret. It is precisely oriented so that on the morning of the winter solstice, the rising sun aligns perfectly with the temple's main corridor. A beam of light would travel down this sacred pathway, past towering columns and through a series of grand halls, to finally reach the inner sanctuary. There, in the holiest chamber, it would illuminate the statues of the gods and the pharaoh himself. This annual event was far more than an architectural marvel. It was a theological statement carved in light. It celebrated the rebirth of the sun at the year's lowest point, a symbolic victory of light over darkness. For the priests and people witnessing this spectacle, it was a powerful, visible affirmation that their ruler was indeed the son of Ra, the sun god, his divine right to rule renewed by the cosmos itself. This precise alignment was not left to chance. Egyptian surveyors used the predictable flow of the Nile as a geographical baseline and meticulously mapped the positions of circumpolar stars to establish true north. The entire temple complex was a machine for manifesting cosmic order on Earth. Even the towering obelisks piercing the sky like frozen sunbeams served a dual purpose. Their sharp tips cast long, distinct shadows that moved like clock hands across the paved courtyards, marking the hours of the day with a public, undeniable authority. This sophisticated fusion of astronomy, architecture, and state power did not remain confined to Egypt. How did such a complete system travel? The influence of Egyptian celestial science rippled outwards along trade and diplomatic routes. To the south, the kingdom of Kush in Nubia absorbed these principles, building their own sun temples and pyramids aligned with solar and stellar events, adapting the symbolism to reinforce their own rulers' legitimacy. Later, Greek scholars and historians who visited Egypt, men like Thales and Pythagoras, carried these astronomical and geometric concepts back to the Mediterranean, where they were debated, refined, and woven into the emerging fabric of Western science. The stone at Karnak was a local instrument, but the knowledge it encoded became a universal inheritance. In the shadow of the Alps, the Valcamonica Valley holds a library of light and stone. For thousands of years, from the Neolithic era through the Iron Age, generations of artists returned to these smooth rock surfaces, pecking away with stone tools to create one of the world's largest collections of rock art. Their canvas was the mountain itself, and their subject was the entire world as they knew it, from scenes of daily life to the profound mysteries of the sky above. Among the thousands of carvings of warriors, plows, and spirals, we find a distinct celestial language. Sun disks radiate with intricate rays, and precise clusters of dots map out the patterns of familiar constellations. These were not random decorations. They are a record, a slow accumulation of observations etched directly into the living rock. One compelling theory suggests that some of these star patterns might depict the appearance of a brilliant comet or the sudden darkness of a solar eclipse, events so powerful they demanded to be remembered for all time. The artists were not just illustrating the sky, they were documenting its most dramatic moments, creating a permanent chronicle of celestial phenomena for their community. But this was more than a simple record. The placement of the carvings transformed the entire valley into an interactive observatory. On specific days of the year, like the summer solstice, the angle of the sun is just right. A beam of sunlight will slide across the carved rock face, illuminating a particular sun symbol or highlighting a specific figure, while leaving the surrounding images in shadow. In that moment, the static carving becomes a dynamic calendar, a solar event marker built directly into the landscape. This intentional alignment proves that the people of Valcamonica were not passive observers of the heavens. They were active participants, using the sun's predictable journey to mark time and give rhythm to their rituals. The knowledge encoded here did not appear overnight. The sheer time span of the carvings, covering millennia, shows an astronomical tradition evolving in place. Early, simpler sun symbols give way to more complex cosmological scenes in later periods. The carvings also depict rich mythological tableaus, scenes of gods and heroes that seem to pulse with symbolic meaning. This is where comparative mythology becomes a vital key. When we see a recurring motif of a heroic figure holding a wheel or a disc, we can look to the myths of neighboring cultures, like the Greeks or the Celts, who often associated such symbols with sun gods or celestial chariots. The myth itself becomes a vessel, a memorable story designed to carry complex astronomical knowledge about solar cycles or planetary motion across generations. The stories gave the stars their meaning, and the carvings gave the stories a home, creating a seamless whole where science, spirituality, and art were one and the same. These spirals and zigzags carved into stone were far more than decoration. They were a complete symbolic language for the cosmos. A single spiral could represent the sun's long, looping journey through the year, a visual shorthand for a concept that took a full cycle of seasons to observe. The sharp, repeated zigzag, found on everything from Anasazi pottery to Celtic talks, often depicted the crackling path of lightning, but also the shimmering river of the Milky Way arching across the night sky. This was astronomy made accessible, transforming the vast and abstract movements of the heavens into familiar, memorable patterns that could be understood by everyone in the community, not just the priests on the platform. Animals provided the most dynamic symbols. The serpent, revered across the world, became a perfect representation of the sun's own motion. We see it in the undulating shadow of Kukulkan descending the pyramid at Chichen Itza, a stone serpent brought to life by light. This creature, which sheds its skin, was a natural symbol for renewal and cyclical change, mirroring the sun's daily death and rebirth. Birds, with their ability to fly closer to the heavens, frequently symbolized stars or planets, their migratory patterns even mirroring the seasonal appearance and disappearance of certain constellations. This symbolic system embedded celestial knowledge into the very objects of daily life. A potter decorating a water jar with a star pattern was not just making it beautiful, she was encoding a piece of the universe into an everyday ritual. A blacksmith forging a brooch with a solar spiral was creating a wearable piece of cosmic order. This visual language ensured that astronomical awareness was not locked away in a temple, but was a living, breathing part of the cultural fabric. The influence of this ancient symbolic grammar echoes through time, long after the original platforms were silent. The same solar disks and stylized stars that once adorned megalithic tombs reappear centuries later on the shields of medieval knights and the coins of rising empires. A national flag might feature a sun or a constellation, a direct descendant of this age-old practice of claiming identity and authority through celestial symbols. This persistence reveals a profound truth, that our need to visualize our connection to the cosmos is a constant thread in human history, woven first into stone and later into the emblems of our nations. The Göbekli circle emerges from the German earth as a perfect geometry of ditches and wooden walls. Built around 4900 BC, this Neolithic enclosure is one of the oldest known solar observatories in the world. Its design is one of elegant simplicity, two concentric circular ditches broken by three precise gates. On the morning of the winter solstice, the shortest and often darkest day of the year, the community would have gathered in the cold. Their eyes would be fixed on the southeastern gate as the first sliver of the sun broke the horizon, its light pouring directly through that narrow opening. Throughout the day, the sun would travel its low, shallow arc across the sky, until at last it descended, perfectly framed by the southwestern gate. This was not a vague alignment, it was accurate to within a single degree, a precision that speaks to generations of careful observation. The wooden palisades themselves were likely more than just a fence. Their vertical posts could have cast long, distinct shadows across the interior, creating a moving diagram of the sun's journey on this most critical day. The entire structure was a colossal calendar, marking the sun's symbolic death and its promised rebirth, an event that surely culminated in festivals of fire and feasting to coax the light's return. The circle's rediscovery was as modern as its construction was ancient, revealed not by an archaeologist's trowel, but by the eye of an airplane camera. Aerial photography showed the faint imprint of the ditches in a wheat field, a ghostly pattern invisible from the ground. This reminds us that countless other sites likely sleep beneath our feet, their stories waiting for the right light to be read once more. The Göbekli circle was not an isolated phenomenon. It is part of a family of similar sites known as kreisgräbnanlagen, or circular enclosures, found across Central Europe. These shared the same fundamental solar geometry, suggesting a widespread and sophisticated astronomical culture flourishing among early farming communities long before the rise of empires. The curb stones encircling the Great Mound of Noth hold a different kind of celestial secret. While its famous neighbor Newgrange captures a singular beam of solstice sunlight, Noth itself is a monument to the moon. Its massive, decorated stones are not random art, they are intricate lunar maps. One particular curbstone, known as K15, is covered in a complex web of arcs and lines that researchers believe charts the moon's complex 18.6-year cycle, marking its most extreme rising and setting points on the horizon. During a major lunar standstill, when the moon reaches the peak of its long swing, a remarkable event unfolds. The light of the rising moon, at its most southerly extreme, would have streamed directly into the eastern passage tomb, traveling down the long, narrow corridor to illuminate spirals and geometric shapes carved deep within the chamber. This was not a yearly event like the solstice, but a generational one, an alignment that required patient observation over a lifetime to even comprehend, let alone build for. Inside the tomb, archaeologists discovered curious artifacts, carved stone spheres, and intricate plaques. Some researchers suggest these were not ritual objects alone, but practical tools, a kind of stone calculator. By moving these carved markers across a grid or against the curved stone maps, a skilled astronomer could have tracked the lunar cycles and even predicted eclipses, events that would have held immense power and fear. The sophistication at Noth, combined with the solar focus at Newgrange, reveals a regional astronomical tradition of stunning depth. This was not a casual hobby. It was a coordinated science, a conscious effort to weave both the sun's reliable rhythm and the moon's more mysterious dance into a single, unified cosmic calendar. The people who managed this knowledge, an elite class of astronomer priests, held the keys to time itself, their authority derived from this celestial command. So what could cause such a sophisticated system to fade? Profound shifts in climate and society likely played a role. A sustained period of cooler, wetter weather could have disrupted harvests and scattered populations, breaking the chain of knowledge passed from master to apprentice. New peoples with different beliefs may have arrived, their gods less tied to the precise movements of the moon. The specialized science, once the domain of a powerful few, could have simply become too fragile, its intricate meanings lost when the social order that sustained it crumbled. The stones at Noth still point to the sky, but the living memory of their purpose retreated into the realm of legend, leaving behind a silent, moonlit puzzle for a future age to decipher. Yet the stones did not speak forever. Across continents, the great celestial platforms eventually fell silent, their precise alignment swallowed by encroaching forests or buried by shifting sands. A slow drift away from these sites began, driven by powerful and often interconnected forces. In some regions, a changing climate made lands once fertile unable to support the large populations needed to maintain the monuments. In others, the arrival of new peoples with different gods and customs meant the old ways and the old stones were gradually abandoned. The rise of centralized empires with their own state religions could also sideline local astronomical traditions, rendering the community-based platforms obsolete. The knowledge itself, so carefully passed down through generations of oral tradition, became fragile. When social order fractured due to hardship or conflict, the chain of memory was broken. The meaning behind the stones faded into folklore, and the platforms became mere curiosities, their original purpose a forgotten language. Centuries later, the rediscovery began, often by accident. In the 1700s, the antiquarian William Stukeley surveyed the crumbling stones of Stonehenge, meticulously mapping its layout and championing its druidic connections, sparking a new wave of public curiosity about Britain's ancient past. He saw what locals had long lived beside, but he asked new questions, looking for the pattern in the ruin. Half a world away, a Turkish farmer plowing his field in the 1960s struck something solid and unyielding just beneath the soil. That chance encounter would eventually lead to the unearthing of Göbekli Tepe, a discovery that pushed back the timeline of monumental architecture and celestial observation by thousands of years, forcing a complete rewrite of human history. In each case, the initial find was just the beginning. It took the trained eye of an archaeologist to see the potential, to recognize that a scattered pile of rocks was in fact a deliberate arrangement. This cycle of loss and recovery underscores a haunting truth about human knowledge. It is not a permanent possession, but a flame that can be extinguished by the winds of change. The physical stones endured, but the living science they represented could vanish in a handful of generations. The modern fascination with these sites, once they were understood, led to crucial preservation efforts. Governments designated them protected heritage, and scientists began the painstaking work of laser scanning and digital mapping, creating permanent records against the ravages of time and tourism. This global inheritance now faces new threats, from the slow erosion of acid rain on limestone carvings to the direct impact of millions of visiting feet. How do we protect these fragile libraries of stone for the centuries to come? The answer lies in a shared sense of stewardship that crosses national borders. International cooperation through organizations like UNESCO helps establish conservation standards and provides funding and expertise to safeguard humanity's collective astronomical heritage, ensuring that the silent conversation between stone and star is never lost again. Deep within a carved mountain, the Temple of Abu Simbel guards a secret that awakens only 2 days each year. On these specific mornings, the first light of the rising sun does something extraordinary. It slices across the desert, enters the temple's monumental doorway, and begins a 200-foot journey into the heart of the mountain. This narrow beam of light travels through the Great Hall, past colossal pillars, piercing the deepening gloom of the inner sanctuary. There it illuminates 3 of the 4 statues seated at the far end. The figures of the pharaoh Ramses II, the god Amun, and the sun god Ra-Horakhti are suddenly bathed in brilliant golden light. But the 4th statue, that of Ptah, the god of the underworld and eternal darkness, remains shrouded in shadow. This was no happy accident of architecture. It was a meticulously engineered theological statement, a drama in light and stone performed to celebrate the king's divine connection and the sun's life-giving power, while acknowledging the necessary realm of darkness. The precision required to achieve this effect, to channel sunlight so deep into a solid rock mountain to illuminate only specific targets on only 2 precise days, is a staggering feat of both astronomy and engineering. So how did they accomplish it with such flawless accuracy, centuries before modern tools? The answer lies in a profound partnership between patient observation and masterful geometry. Egyptian surveyors would have used the unchanging North Star and the sun's own path to establish a perfect east-west axis. They then combined this with a deep understanding of solar angles, calculating the exact height and direction for the doorway so that the sun's rays would travel the long corridor and strike the inner wall at the correct altitude year after year. This was a science refined over generations, a celestial knowledge so embedded in their culture that they could literally direct the sun to perform for their gods. The modern story of Abu Simbel adds another layer to its legacy. When the rising waters of Lake Nasser, created by the Aswan High Dam, threatened to submerge the temple forever, an unprecedented international rescue mission was launched. Engineers and archaeologists from around the world collaborated to cut the entire temple complex into massive blocks, carefully moving them to higher ground. In this monumental effort, one instruction was paramount: preserve the original orientation. The teams went to incredible lengths to ensure that the solar alignment, the temple's very soul, remained perfectly intact. Today, visitors from across the globe still gather in the pre-dawn darkness on those 2 mornings, waiting in hushed anticipation to witness the same celestial spectacle the ancient priests engineered. The enduring power of that moment, where a beam of sunlight connects the modern world to an ancient cosmic vision, speaks to a universal human longing to find our place in the grand order of the universe. Beneath the modern island of Malta lies a sanctuary where stone breathes with the resonance of the stars. The Hypogeum, a labyrinthine complex carved entirely underground, descends through 3 distinct levels, a journey mirroring an ancient cosmology of underworld, earth, and sky. At its heart rests the Oracle Chamber, a room where architecture, astronomy, and acoustics fuse into a single, powerful instrument. A priest's voice, chanting a low, sustained tone, would not simply fill this space, it would transform. The chamber's carefully sculpted walls amplify specific frequencies, causing the sound to vibrate physically through the air and stone, a palpable hum that could induce trance-like states in ritual participants. This sonic phenomenon was timed to celestial events. Specific shafts engineered to pierce the deep rock channeled narrow beams of sunlight or moonlight into the perpetual darkness below. On the solstices or equinoxes, these shafts would act as celestial spotlights, illuminating carved niches or altars at the very moment the chanting reached its peak. The walls themselves are adorned with spirals and patterns painted in red ochre, symbols found across megalithic Europe that may map cosmic cycles or constellations. This was not a place of silence and stillness, but a dynamic theater where the vibrations of the human voice met the silent, precise light of the heavens. The entire hypogeum functioned as a model of the universe, its 3 levels a physical manifestation of a belief system where the realms of the ancestors, the living, and the gods were intimately connected by the rhythms of the cosmos. This profound integration of the subterranean and the celestial finds a striking parallel across the Atlantic. The natural sinkholes of the Yucatan Peninsula, known as cenotes, were sacred portals to the Mayan underworld, the realm of the rain gods. Yet they were also vital astronomical markers. The Maya observed the reflection of stars and planets on the still, dark water surfaces within these deep pits, using them to track celestial movements from the depths of the earth. At certain times of the year, the sun or moon would align directly overhead, its light plunging into the watery abyss in a dramatic display that connected the highest heavens to the deepest underworld. Both the man-made hypogeum and the natural cenotes reveal a shared understanding that the universe was a single, interconnected system, and that sacred knowledge could be found not only by looking up at the sky, but also by descending into the earth. These deep, water-filled sinkholes were far more than just sources of fresh water for the Maya. They were sacred openings to Xibalba, the underworld, a realm of gods and ancestors. At the sacred cenote of Chichen Itza, this spiritual connection was timed by the sun itself. On the days of the zenith passage, when the sun reached its absolute peak overhead and cast no shadow, its light would plunge directly into the dark waters of the cenote. For the Maya, this was a moment of profound cosmic alignment, a bridge between the highest heaven and the deepest underworld. It was during these precise celestial windows that priests would lead ceremonies, casting offerings of jade, gold, and other precious items into the water. These were not random sacrifices, but calculated appeals to the rain gods, timed to coincide with the sun's supreme power to ensure the arrival of life-giving rains for their crops. The cenote itself became a celestial clock, its surface a perfect dark mirror. On clear nights, the still water would perfectly reflect the star-studded sky, creating an inverted firmament below. An astronomer could look down into the earth and see the constellations shimmering in the depths, a double sky that deepened the connection between the terrestrial and the cosmic. This practice reveals a worldview where the entire landscape was alive with meaning, where a water-filled hole in the ground could be a direct reflection of the heavens. This principle extended far beyond the cenotes. The Maya and countless other cultures used the natural world as their primary observatory, a solitary, towering mountain peak on the horizon became a permanent calendar marker, its silhouette notching the sunrise on the solstice. A winding river reflecting the path of the Milky Way could be seen as a terrestrial echo of the celestial river above. They did not just build platforms to reach for the sky, they recognized that the Earth itself was already in constant, silent conversation with the cosmos. That same practice of reading the cosmos in the contours of the Earth unfolds across the Americas. The Great Serpent Mound in Ohio coils for over a quarter-mile along a high ridge, its undulating body a permanent fixture in the landscape. On the evening of the summer solstice, the sun does not set behind a man-made stone, but instead sinks directly into the serpent's open jaws, a natural horizon framing a celestial event. This was not a coincidence of placement. The builders chose this specific ridge for its unique topography, using the land itself as a calibrated sightline. The entire effigy becomes a colossal solar instrument, its form and function inseparable from the hill it rests upon. For the fort ancient culture who likely built it, the serpent was more than a symbol. It was an active participant in the cosmic cycle, its alignment confirming the sun's power at its peak and ensuring the continuation of the seasons. This approach created a sacred geography where every mountain, river bend, and cave entrance could hold astronomical significance. A distinctive peak on the horizon became a seasonal clock, its silhouette notching the solstice sunrise for an entire valley. A winding river might be seen as a terrestrial reflection of the Milky Way, its course mirroring the celestial river above. This worldview required no grand construction, only a deep, attentive relationship with the living land. How did this perspective shape their understanding of the world? It wove the cosmos directly into the fabric of daily life, turning the entire world into a familiar, knowable, and deeply sacred map. The Great Serpent Mound uncoils across an Ohio ridge for nearly a quarter-mile, a silent earthwork that holds a precise solar calendar within its graceful curves. On the evening of the summer solstice, the sun does not simply set behind a distant hill. It sinks directly into the serpent's open jaws, a perfect alignment of earth and sky. For the fort ancient culture who built this masterpiece around 1,000 years ago, this annual event was a moment of profound cosmic theater. The serpent, a powerful symbol of renewal and transformation across many cultures, was likely seen as a guardian of this celestial cycle. Its body, formed from tons of carefully placed clay and stone, follows the natural contours of the land, turning the entire ridge into a colossal astronomical instrument. The alignment is not limited to a single day. The mound's graceful coils also point to the sunrise on both the spring and autumn equinoxes, marking the days of perfect balance between light and darkness. This suggests the effigy was a sophisticated, multi-functional calendar, its form encoding the most critical turning points of the solar year. How did other cultures use animal shapes to map the heavens? Across North America, other effigy mounds, shaped like bears, birds, and water spirits, often possess similar celestial correlations. A bird-shaped mound might have its wings aligned to a constellation's rising, while a bear effigy could point toward the northern stars. These earthworks were more than art. They were a universal language written into the landscape, a way for people to anchor their world to the reliable rhythms of the cosmos. The preservation of the Great Serpent Mound allows us to witness this ancient conversation, a reminder that the desire to build in harmony with the heavens was a fundamental part of the human story. Across the Mississippi River from modern St. Louis, a city of Earth once rose from the floodplain. Cahokia was the largest pre-Columbian settlement north of Mexico, a thriving metropolis centered around Monk's Mound, a colossal earthen platform covering more than 14 acres. Here, the astronomers built not with stone, but with the most abundant local material, wood. They erected a great circle of massive cedar posts, a structure we now call Woodhenge. On the morning of the equinox, a person standing at the circle's central marker would see the sun rise directly over a specific post, a brilliant signal of the day when light and darkness stand in perfect balance. This alignment was not a solitary event. Other posts were precisely positioned to frame the solstice sunrises and sunsets, creating a comprehensive solar calendar that governed the rhythms of the entire community. When the sun rose over the winter solstice post, it signaled the deepest point of the cold season. Its alignment with the summer solstice post marked the peak of warmth and growth. This wooden observatory was the beating heart of a complex society, its alignments telling farmers exactly when to plant their maize, when to harvest their crops, and when to prepare for the changing seasons. The great platform of Monk's Mound itself likely served a celestial purpose, its towering summit providing a vantage point to observe the horizon, and its orientation perhaps aligning with key solar events. In a city of thousands where trade goods from across the continent flowed through bustling plazas, this shared astronomical timekeeping was essential. It synchronized ceremonies, regulated markets, and unified a diverse population under a single cosmic schedule, granting immense social authority to those who could read the sky. Yet this flourishing civilization, with its sophisticated understanding of the heavens, would not endure forever. A combination of environmental challenges, including shifts in climate that affected agriculture and possibly the overuse of local resources, appears to have contributed to the city's gradual decline. Over time, the great wooden posts of the henge rotted away, and the mounds were slowly reclaimed by the land, a poignant reminder that even the most brilliant celestial science is intertwined with the fragile balance of the world it seeks to understand. These rock carvings transform entire cliff faces into public archives of the sky. In the high desert of the American Southwest, places like Choco Canyon and Newspaper Rock are galleries of astronomical history, where spirals, concentric circles, and humanoid figures are pecked into the dark stone varnish. A shaman might have stood at a specific spot, using a carved spiral not as mere art, but as a precision-sighting device. On the morning of the summer solstice, he could watch the first sliver of sunlight strike the very center of that spiral, a brilliant confirmation that the sun had reached its peak and would now begin its slow turn back toward winter. The location of these panels was carefully chosen, situated in areas with unobstructed, clean horizons to provide a perfect, flat line against which to measure the sun's and moon's travels. The symbols themselves are a catalogue of celestial phenomena. Alongside the solar markers, we find stark depictions of stars with radiating lines, possibly recording the brilliant supernova that created the Crab Nebula in the year 1054. A star with a sweeping tail could be a comet, its sudden appearance and mysterious journey preserved for future generations. Other scenes are interpreted as representations of eclipses, showing a crescent sun or a celestial serpent seeming to swallow a solar disk. This rock art was not hidden knowledge, it was a communal library, a permanent record of celestial events carved in a place where anyone could see it